Dramily.com, unlimited drama series.
The invitation arrived on a Tuesday, cream-colored cardstock with gold embossing that probably cost more than my first car. Claire handed it to me with that smile. The one I'd learned meant trouble was brewing beneath her carefully applied makeup. "I invited Graham to the wedding," she said, her voice light and airy, like she was mentioning she'd picked up milk. "If you really love me, you'd understand." I looked at the invitation at Graham Foster's name, written in Claire's looping handwriting in the +1 slot. Graham. Her ex-boyfriend, the one she'd dated for 3 years before we met. The one whose name still came up too often in conversations, usually preceded by "remember when," and followed by laughter I wasn't part of. "I understand," I said, setting down my coffee. Claire's eyes widened slightly. She'd expected a fight, wanted one probably. Drama was her oxygen. "You do?" "Absolutely." I smiled. "It's your day. Invite whoever you want." She kissed my cheek, already texting someone. Probably Lila, her bridesmaid and partner in manufactured chaos. I watched her walk away, her designer jeans hugging curves I'd once found irresistible, and felt something cold settle in my chest. I understood perfectly. I just hadn't decided yet what she was going to lose. "My name is Jack Landon. I'm 32, an IT security consultant, which means I'm good at finding things people don't want found. I'd built my career from nothing. No trust fund or family connections, just long nights and longer code. Claire came from money, the kind of old East Coast wealth that bought influence and expected deference. Her mother, Evelyn, had made it clear from day one that I was punching above my weight class. Maybe that's why Claire thought she could pull this. I called Mike that night. Mike Patterson had been my best friend since college, a construction supervisor with hands like catcher's mitts and a heart bigger than his pickup truck. He arrived with beer and concern written across his weathered face. "She invited her ex to your wedding?" Mike popped the cap off a bottle, shaking his head. "Brother, that's messed up." "It gets better." I pulled up my laptop. "Graham Foster, 35, works in commercial real estate. And here's the interesting part. He's married." Mike leaned closer to the screen, squinting at Graham's social media profile. There he was, all teeth and confidence, arm around a blonde woman in front of a suburban colonial. The caption read, "5 years with my beautiful wife, Melissa." Does Claire know he's married? Oh, she knows. I scrolled through Claire's Instagram, found a comment from 3 weeks ago on one of Graham's posts. "See? She liked his anniversary photo." Mike whistled low. "So, what are you thinking?" "I'm thinking," I said slowly, "that if Claire wants Graham at our wedding so badly, we should make sure everyone important is on the guest list." The next morning, I created a new email account. Nothing traceable, nothing obvious. I drafted a message to Melissa Foster, Graham's wife, choosing each word carefully. "Dear Mrs. Foster, you don't know me, but we have something in common. My fiancée, Claire Whitmore, has invited your husband to our wedding as her special guest. I thought you might be interested in attending as well." I've attached some screenshots of their recent text conversations that I found on her phone. I believe in transparency, don't you? Regards, a fellow traveler. I attached 3 screenshots. Claire had been careless, leaving her phone unlocked while she showered. The messages were illuminating. References to old times, late-night calls, inside jokes that felt like tiny infidelities stacked into something bigger. The reply came faster than I expected. "Jack, let's not play games. I know who you are. I've known about Claire for 2 months. I'm very interested in attending your wedding. Perhaps we should meet first. I think we could help each other. Melissa." I stared at the screen. She'd known. For 2 months, she'd known her husband was playing around with my fiancé, and she'd been waiting, planning. I liked her already. We met at a coffee shop downtown, the kind of place where nobody looked twice at 2 strangers having an intense conversation. Melissa Foster was sharper than her social media suggested. Designer clothes, yes, but there was steel in her blue eyes that photographs couldn't capture. "He thinks I don't know," she said, stirring her latte with mechanical precision. "Graham's always been careful, but he got sloppy with Claire. She's not as subtle as she thinks. Neither's he." I slid my phone across the table, showing her Claire's calendar. See these girls' nights? Cross-reference them with Graham's late meetings. Melissa pulled out her own phone, compared the dates. Her jaw tightened. Every single one matches. They've been planning something, I said. I found a reservation confirmation in Claire's email. Hotel suite, night of the wedding. For old time's sake, the message said. Closure, Melissa said bitterly. That's what Graham called it when I found texts from an old girlfriend 2 years ago. He needs closure like other people need air. So what do you want? She looked at me directly, and I saw the same cold calculation I'd been feeling. I want him humiliated, publicly. I want everyone who matters to know what he is. His business partners, his clients, his country club friends. I want his reputation shredded. And Claire? Your fiancé is collateral damage. But yes, her too. Melissa smiled, and it wasn't pleasant. I assume you want the same? I want her to understand that actions have consequences, I said. That you can't treat people like props in your personal drama without paying a price. Then we're partners. Melissa extended her hand. So you get me into that wedding, and I'll make sure everyone sees exactly who they really are. We shook on it. Her grip was firm, professional. Like we were closing a business deal, which I suppose we were. The business of revenge. Mike thought I was crazy. You're bringing the guy's wife to your wedding? He nearly dropped his sandwich. Jack, that's nuclear. That's the point. I was in my apartment, laying out the plan like a military operation. Wedding schedule here, guest list there, potential flashpoints marked in red. Claire wants drama? I'll give her drama. This could blow up in your face. It's already blown up. I'm just controlling the explosion. The rehearsal dinner was in 3 days. That's where we'd start, a small detonation just enough to rattle them. The wedding itself would be the main event. I'd already planted seeds, casual mentions to Claire's mother about expanding the guest list, a conversation with the wedding planner about additional seating, everything legitimate, everything explainable. Claire was too busy with last-minute details to notice. She'd become a whirlwind of fabric swatches and seating charts, her phone permanently attached to her hand. I caught her texting late one night, smiling at the screen in a way she hadn't smiled at me in months. Graham? I asked casually. She jumped, almost dropped the phone. What? No, just Lila, about the centerpieces. Right, the centerpieces. I kissed her forehead, felt her relax. I'm going to bed. Don't stay up too late. I won't. Love you. Love you too. The lies came so easily now, for both of us. I found the burner phone 2 days before the rehearsal dinner. It was hidden in Claire's gym bag, tucked into a zippered pocket she thought I'd never check. The phone was cheap, disposable, the kind you buy at convenience stores with cash. The messages made my stomach turn. Claire, can't wait to see you tomorrow. It's been too long. Graham, your fiancé won't suspect anything? Claire, Jack, please. He's completely clueless. Too busy with his computers to notice anything. Graham, and after the wedding? Claire, we'll figure it out. Maybe you'll finally leave Melissa. Maybe I'll realize I'm marrying the wrong man. Either way, we'll have our night. Graham, you're terrible. Claire, you love it. I photographed every message, uploaded them to a secure cloud drive, and put the phone back exactly where I'd found it. My hands were steady. I felt oddly calm, like I'd moved beyond anger into something colder and more focused. Mike found me at my apartment that night, staring at my laptop screen. You okay, brother? I'm perfect. I turned the screen toward him. Look what I found. He read the messages, his expression darkening with each line. Jack, I'm sorry, this is... Don't be sorry. Be ready. I pulled up the rehearsal dinner seating chart. Tomorrow night, everything changes. Melissa's coming as my guest. Graham will be there as Claire's special invitee, and everyone who matters will be watching. What are you going to do? I'm going to let them hang themselves, I said. I'm just providing the rope. The rehearsal dinner was at Riverside, an upscale bar downtown with exposed brick and craft cocktails that cost more than a tank of gas. Claire had insisted on it, naturally. Nothing but the best for the Whitmore wedding weekend. I arrived early with Melissa on my arm. She looked stunning in a navy dress that screamed old money and good taste. Several guests did double takes, trying to place her. Claire's mother, Evelyn, approached with her trademark smile, warm on the surface, calculating underneath. "Jack, darling, who's your friend?" "Evelyn, this is Melissa Foster. She's a colleague who's in town for the weekend. I hope you don't mind that I invited her." "Of course not." Evelyn's eyes swept over Melissa, cataloging designer labels and jewelry. Approved, apparently. "Any friend of Jack's is welcome." Claire appeared moments later, Graham trailing behind her like a golden retriever. She froze when she saw Melissa, recognition flickering across her face. Graham went pale. "Jack," Claire said carefully, "you didn't mention you were bringing someone?" "Didn't I? Must have slipped my mind." I smiled pleasantly. "Claire, Graham, this is Melissa. Melissa, this is my fiancée, Claire, and her friend, Graham." "Graham Foster," Melissa said, her voice honey-sweet. What a small world. "I'm Melissa Foster, Graham's wife." The silence lasted maybe 3 seconds, but felt like an hour. Claire's mouth opened and closed. Graham looked like he wanted to melt into the hardwood floor. Around us, conversations stuttered and stopped as people sensed drama. "Your wife?" Claire's voice was barely a whisper. 5 years next month," Melissa said brightly. "Jack was kind enough to invite me when he heard Graham would be here. Isn't that thoughtful? I so rarely get to see my husband's old friends." Lila, Claire's bridesmaid, had her phone out, naturally. I saw her typing frantically, probably updating her Instagram story. Good. The more witnesses, the better. Graham found his voice. "Melissa, what are you doing here?" "Celebrating Jack and Claire's upcoming marriage, obviously." Melissa linked her arm through mine. "Jack and I have become quite close. We have so much in common." Claire's face was doing interesting things, cycling through confusion, anger, and something that might have been fear. She pulled Graham aside, their whispered argument sharp enough to cut glass, even if the words weren't clear. Evelyn materialized at my elbow. "Jack, what exactly is going on?" "Just making sure all of Claire's important guests feel welcome," I said. "Claire insisted on inviting Graham. I thought his wife should be here too. Only fair, right?" The dinner was excruciating and perfect. Melissa sat beside me, playing the role of devoted +1 while dropping conversational grenades. She mentioned Graham's work, his habits, his schedule, all the things that matched perfectly with Claire's mysterious absences. She showed me photos on her phone, loudly enough for nearby tables to hear, of Graham at various events. Events that Claire had also attended, though they'd claimed not to see each other. Claire and Graham sat at the opposite end of the table, both looking like they'd swallowed glass. They kept trying to catch each other's eyes, but Melissa's presence was a spotlight they couldn't escape. When it came time for toasts, I stood up, glass in hand. "I want to thank everyone for being here," I said, "especially Claire, for teaching me that love means understanding. And I do understand, Claire. I understand everything." The emphasis on everything landed like I'd intended. Claire's face went white. Melissa raised her glass, smiling. "To understanding," Melissa said, "and to honest marriages." The toast echoed around the room, but several guests looked confused, sensing subtext they couldn't quite grasp. Lila was still on her phone, documenting everything. Perfect. After dinner, I stepped outside for air. The riverside walk was quiet, the water reflecting city lights. I'd been there maybe 2 minutes when Graham appeared. "What the hell do you think you're doing?" His polished veneer was cracking, showing something uglier underneath. "Me? I'm getting married tomorrow. What are you doing?" "You brought my wife to—" "Your wife," I interrupted, "who you've been cheating on with my fiancé." "Yeah, I brought her. Seemed appropriate." Graham stepped closer, trying to intimidate with his height. He had 3 inches on me and probably 20 pounds. "You need to make her leave." "Or what?" I didn't back up. "You'll do what exactly, Graham? Make a scene? Cause drama at my wedding? Please. You've already done that. I could ruin you." I laughed, actually laughed. "You're a real estate agent from the suburbs who's been screwing my fiancé in hotel rooms. What exactly are you going to ruin?" My reputation, my career? Go ahead and try. He grabbed my shirt. I'd been expecting it, hoping for it even. I slammed my hand down on the hood of his BMW. The car was parked right there, conveniently, making a sound loud enough to echo. Touch me again, I said quietly, and I'll make sure everyone knows everything. Your business partners, your clients, your wife's family. I've got screenshots, Graham, lots of them, from Claire's burner phone. Want me to share them? He released me like I was on fire. You're bluffing. I pulled out my phone, showed him one of the messages, watched his face drain of color. Tomorrow, I said, you're going to come to that wedding, you're going to smile and act normal, and then you're going to disappear from our lives forever. Because if you don't, every single person who matters to you will see exactly what you are. Are we clear? Graham nodded, speechless. Good talk. I straightened my shirt and walked back inside. Melissa was waiting by the door, and from her expression, she'd watched the whole thing through the window. Feel better? She asked. Getting there. That night, social media exploded. Lila's Instagram story had gone viral.
200 messages, deleted photos, a folder called Don't Open.
Watch more on Grammarly.com.
In our social circle. Clips of the awkward dinner, Melissa's pointed comments, the tension you could cut with a knife. Claire's phone buzzed constantly. She locked herself in the bathroom, and I could hear her crying. I felt nothing. That should have worried me, the absence of feeling, but it didn't. Mike called around midnight. Dude, you're trending on Twitter. Well, not you specifically, but wedding drama is. Someone posted about the rehearsal dinner. Let it burn, I said. Yeah, you sure about tomorrow? Never been more sure of anything. I hung up and looked at the wedding schedule on my desk. Ceremony at 4, reception at 6. Melissa and I had planned everything down to the minute. By tomorrow night, everyone would understand exactly what Claire and Graham had done, and they'd never forget it. The wedding day dawned clear and bright, the kind of perfect spring weather that seemed designed to mock the chaos about to unfold. The venue was the Riverside Estate, all manicured lawns and white columns, overlooking the water. Claire's parents had paid a fortune for it. Worth every penny, they'd said. I arrived early, ostensibly to handle last-minute details. Really, I was positioning pieces on the chessboard. Melissa showed up at noon, looking composed and elegant. We met in a quiet corner of the grounds, away from the flurry of wedding coordinators and florists. Graham tried to call me 17 times last night, she said. I didn't answer. Claire cried for 3 hours. I pretended to sleep. You're cold, Jack Landon. So are you, Melissa Foster. We smiled at each other, two people united by betrayal and the desire to make it right. Or wrong, depending on your perspective. I found the hotel suite key, Melissa said, holding up a key card. It was in Graham's wallet. Room 1247, the Grandview Hotel. Reservation starts at 10 tonight. Their escape plan. Not anymore. Melissa pocketed the key. I've made other arrangements for that room. I didn't ask what arrangements. I didn't need to know. The guests began arriving around 3. Claire's family and friends, my smaller contingent, all dressed in their expensive best. I spotted Graham immediately. He looked haggard, like he hadn't slept. Good. Claire was in the bridal suite, surrounded by bridesmaids and her mother. I caught a glimpse of her through the window, a vision in white silk and lace. She looked beautiful. She also looked nervous, kept checking her phone. At 3:30, I was in my tuxedo, standing in a side room with Mike, who was serving as my best man. Last chance to back out, Mike said. I'm not backing out, I'm following through. This is going to get ugly. It already is ugly. I'm just making sure everyone sees it. The ceremony was supposed to start at 4. At 3:45, I watched through a window as Evelyn discovered Melissa in the crowd. The older woman's face went through several expressions before settling on forced politeness. She approached Melissa and I could read her lips. I wasn't aware you'd be attending. Melissa's response was too quiet to hear, but Evelyn's expression suggested it wasn't what she wanted to hear. At 3:55, Claire's father, Richard, found me in the side room. Jack, we need to talk. Richard Whitmore was a lawyer, successful and intimidating, with silver hair and a voice that commanded boardrooms. He'd never quite approved of me, but he'd been cordially polite. Now he looked angry. About what? About whatever game you're playing with Graham Foster's wife. Evelyn says you brought her yesterday, that you're causing problems. I'm not causing problems, I said calmly. I'm revealing them. There's a difference. This is Claire's day. Claire invited her ex-boyfriend to our wedding, I interrupted. An ex-boyfriend who happens to be married. Did she mention that part? Did she mention that they've been meeting up, texting, planning a little reunion for tonight? Richard's face went carefully blank. I don't know what you're talking about. Yes, you do. Or you do now. I straightened my bow tie. Here's what's going to happen. We're going to go out there and we're going to have a wedding. And then everyone is going to learn the truth about your daughter and Graham Foster. You can try to stop it, but you won't succeed. Or you can let it play out and maintain some dignity. Your choice. You're making a mistake. No, I said. I'm correcting one. The ceremony began at 4:15, slightly delayed. I stood at the altar, Mike beside me, looking out at the assembled guests. 200 people, all dressed to impress, all expecting a fairy tale. Melissa sat in the third row, clearly visible, smiling pleasantly. Graham was 5 rows back, sweating despite the mild temperature. The music started. Bridesmaids processed down the aisle. Then Claire appeared, radiant and terrified, on her father's arm. She met my eyes as she walked, and I saw the question there. What are you going to do? Everything, I thought. I'm going to do everything. The officiant began the ceremony. Standard words about love and commitment and forever. I said my responses at the right times, calm and clear. Claire's voice shook slightly on hers. Then came the vows. We'd written our own, supposedly from the heart. I pulled out my folded paper and began to read. Claire, when we met, I thought I'd found something rare. Someone who understood me, who valued honesty and trust. Today, standing here, I want to promise you something important. I paused, looked directly at her. I promise never to invite ghosts from the past into our future. I promise never to keep secrets that could destroy us. I promise to value our relationship more than old flames or convenient lies. The emphasis was slight but clear. Claire's face went pale. Several guests shifted uncomfortably, sensing something off. I promise, I continued, that everyone important will always have a place at our table. That truth will matter more than convenience. That actions have consequences, and love means respecting those you claim to care about. I folded the paper. Claire was staring at me, tears forming in her eyes, but not the happy kind. Her vows were generic, pulled from a website probably, about partnership and forever. Her voice cracked twice. The officiant asked if anyone objected to the union. The traditional moment of silence. Melissa stood up. I object, she said clearly. The crowd gasped, literally gasped, like something from a movie. Claire's mother made a strangled sound. The officiant looked panicked. On what grounds? He asked. On the grounds, Melissa said, walking toward the altar, that the bride has been having an affair with my husband. And I have proof. She pulled out a phone, Claire's burner phone, which I'd given her that morning, and began reading messages aloud. Every damning text, every secret plan, every casual betrayal, delivered in Melissa's clear, caring voice. Claire tried to grab the phone. Melissa stepped back smoothly, continuing to read. Graham half rose from his seat, then sat back down, trapped by the crowd and his own cowardice. Stop, Claire sobbed. Please stop. Why? Melissa asked. These are your words, Claire. Your messages to my husband. About your plans for tonight, for your wedding night, which you were going to spend with Graham in room 1247 at the Grandview Hotel. The crowd erupted. Voices overlapping, people standing, phones coming out. Lila was live streaming, her face a mask of gleeful shock. Evelyn rushed forward. This is outrageous. Security. Security already knows, I said calmly. I briefed them this morning. No one's being removed unless they become violent. Richard grabbed my arm. What have you done? What you should have done, I said. Held your daughter accountable. Graham made his move then, trying to slip out through the side. He didn't make it far. Mike intercepted him. All 220 pounds of construction worker muscle. Going somewhere? Mike asked pleasantly. Let me go. Can't do that, buddy. Jack wants a word. I walked down from the altar, leaving Claire sobbing in her $10,000 dress. The crowd parted as I approached Graham, their faces a mix of horror and fascination. "You were supposed to be here," I said to Graham. "You were supposed to smile and act normal. Remember our deal?" "This is insane," Graham hissed. "You're insane." "No, I'm just done being the understanding guy." I turned to the crowd, raised my voice. "Everyone, I want to thank you for coming today. I know this isn't the wedding you expected, but it's the one we're having. The truth is, Claire and Graham have been carrying on an affair for months. They planned to spend tonight together, after Claire and I were married. She invited him to our wedding as her special guest, and when I objected, she told me that if I really loved her, I'd understand." I looked at Claire, still standing at the altar, mascara running, bouquet dropped at her feet. "I do understand, Claire. I understand that you're selfish and manipulative, that you wanted the security I represented and the excitement Graham provided, that you thought you could have both without consequences. But here's what you don't understand. Actions matter. Choices matter. And you chose this." "Jack, please," she whispered. "Please what? Forgive you? Pretend this didn't happen? Let you humiliate me in front of everyone we know?" I shook my head. "No. You wanted Graham here? He's here. You wanted a memorable wedding? You've got one. You wanted me to understand? I do. Completely." I turned back to the crowd. "The wedding is off. Please enjoy the open bar and the reception dinner. It's all paid for, and there's no reason for good food to go to waste. Consider it a party celebrating honesty and consequences." Evelyn was crying now, Richard looked murderous, and half the guests were filming everything. The other half were already texting, spreading the news to everyone who wasn't there. Graham tried one more time to leave. Mike held him firm. "You're not going anywhere," I said to Graham. "Not until your wife is done with you." Melissa approached her husband, and the crowd quieted to hear what she'd say. "I've filed for divorce," she told him. "The papers are being served to your office Monday morning. I've also informed your business partners about your habit of using company resources for personal affairs. Specifically, that hotel room you booked on the corporate account." Graham's face went from red to white. "You can't—" "I already did. Your reputation, your marriage, your career, all gone, Graham. Because you couldn't keep your pants zipped and your ego in check." She looked at Claire. "You're welcome to him, by the way. What's left of him?" Claire had collapsed into a chair, surrounded by shocked bridesmaids. Lila was still filming, narrating the whole thing for her followers. I walked back to Mike, who released Graham with a slight shove. "We done here?" Mike asked. "Almost." I addressed the crowd one final time. "For those wondering about gifts, please donate them to charity. For those who came from out of town, the hotel rooms are booked through tomorrow. Please enjoy your stay. And for those who want to know what happens next, this is what happens. The truth comes out, the guilty are exposed, and everyone moves forward." I looked at Claire one last time. She was staring at me with something like hatred mixed with disbelief. "You destroyed everything," she said. "No," I corrected. "You did. I just made sure everyone knew about it." The venue erupted into chaos as I walked away. Arguments, crying, frantic phone calls, the buzz of social media spreading the news at light speed. Behind me, I heard Evelyn screaming at Richard, heard Graham trying to explain himself to Melissa, heard Claire's sobs echoing across the lawn. Mike fell into step beside me as we headed for the parking lot. "That was the most brutal thing I've ever seen," he said. "And I've watched buildings get demolished." She wanted a memorable wedding. "Oh, it's memorable. It's going to be legendary. You know this is going to follow you, right? People will talk. Let them." I felt lighter than I had in months, like I'd been carrying a weight I hadn't noticed until it was gone. I'd rather be the guy who exposed the truth than the guy who got played. We reached my car. Mike clapped me on the shoulder. "What are you going to do now?" "Right now, I'm going to drive home, order a pizza, and watch something mindless on TV. Tomorrow, I'm going to start looking for a new apartment. Next week, I'm going to get back to my life." I smiled. The life I should have been living instead of planning a wedding to someone who didn't respect me. "You're really okay?" "I'm better than okay. I'm free." Mike nodded slowly. "You need anything, you call me. Day or night." "I know. Thanks for having my back." Always, brother. Always. He drove off, and I was about to get in my car when I saw Melissa walking across the parking lot. She'd changed out of her dress into jeans and a blazer, looking businesslike and composed. Leaving? I asked. Nothing left to do here. Graham's getting a ride from his brother, who showed up to witness the carnage. Claire's family's probably going to need therapy. She smiled slightly. How do you feel? Honestly, satisfied. You? The same. Graham's going to lose his job, his reputation, possibly his house when I'm done with the divorce. He'll survive, but he'll never be the golden boy again. And Claire will probably marry some other poor fool and do the same thing in 5 years. Melissa extended her hand. It's been a pleasure working with you, Jack Landon. I shook her hand. Likewise, Melissa Foster. For what it's worth, she said, you deserved better than her. So did you, better than Graham. True, but at least now we're both free of them. She released my hand. Take care of yourself. You too. I watched her drive away, then got in my car. Behind me, the Riverside estate was still in chaos. The wedding that never was becoming the scandal of the season. Claire's perfect day had turned into a nightmare. Graham's reputation was destroyed, and everyone who'd witnessed it would never forget. I'd promised Claire I understood, and I did. I understood that some people thought they could have everything without paying the price, that they could manipulate and lie and betray without consequences. I'd shown her differently. I'd made sure everyone understood what she really was. As I drove away from the venue, past the manicured lawns and white columns, I felt no regret, no guilt. Just the clean, sharp satisfaction of a plan executed perfectly. Claire had wanted me to understand. Now everyone did. And that understanding would follow her for the rest of her life.